Before we begin this incredible story, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss amazing stories like this one. Now, let's dive into what happened on that unforgettable day. Marcus Reynolds was not a bad person. He was just someone who loved attention a little too much. At 23 years old, he had built a decent following on social media by doing pranks and silly challenges. Nothing too crazy, just enough to make people laugh and share his videos. He lived in London with 2 roommates and worked part-time at a coffee shop while chasing his dream of becoming famous online. On a bright Tuesday morning in July, Marcus woke up with an idea. He had seen other content creators doing pranks near Buckingham Palace, and he wanted to do something that would get him noticed. He grabbed his phone, checked his follower count, and sighed. Still stuck at 15,000 followers? He needed something big, something that would make him go viral. His roommate Jake was eating cereal at the kitchen table when Marcus walked in with a huge grin on his face. Jake knew that look. It meant Marcus was planning something stupid again. Marcus explained his idea to throw coffee on one of the royal guards and film their reaction. Jake immediately told him it was a terrible idea, but Marcus laughed it off. He said the guards never moved or reacted to anything, so it would be harmless and funny. By noon, Marcus was standing outside Buckingham Palace with his camera ready. Tourists were everywhere, taking photos and enjoying the summer weather. The royal guards stood perfectly still in their red uniforms and tall black hats. Marcus bought a large coffee from a nearby stand. His hands were shaking slightly, but he told himself it was just excitement. He set up his phone on a small tripod, making sure the angle was perfect to catch everything. Marcus walked closer to one of the guards. The guard was a tall man, probably in his late 20s, standing completely motionless. Marcus felt his heart beating faster. He looked around to make sure enough people would see this moment. Then, without thinking too much about the consequences, he tossed the coffee directly at the guard's uniform. The hot liquid splashed across the red fabric, dripping down slowly. For a moment, nothing happened. The guard did not move. Marcus started laughing nervously, looking at his camera to make sure it was recording. Tourists nearby gasped and stopped what they were doing. Some people started recording on their phones too. Marcus felt a rush of excitement. This was it. This was going to make him famous. But then something happened that wiped the smile completely off his face. 2 police officers appeared within seconds. They must have been watching from somewhere nearby. They walked straight toward Marcus with serious expressions. Marcus's stomach dropped. He had not expected this. He thought maybe he would get yelled at, but the officers looked really angry. One of them, a woman with sharp eyes, asked Marcus what he thought he was doing. Marcus tried to laugh it off, saying it was just a joke for his social media. The other officer, a large man with a deep voice, was not amused at all. The female officer asked for his identification while her partner went to check on the guard. Marcus fumbled with his wallet, his hands suddenly sweaty. He handed over his ID, watching as the officer wrote down his information. Around them, a crowd had formed. Dozens of tourists were recording everything on their phones. Marcus realized with growing horror that this was not going the way he planned. He was going viral, but not in a good way. The guard finally moved, breaking his position for the first time. He looked down at his ruined uniform, coffee still dripping from the fabric. His face showed no emotion, but Marcus could see disappointment in his eyes. The male officer asked the guard if he wanted to press charges. Marcus felt his blood run cold. Charges. He had not thought about actual legal trouble. It was just coffee. Just a stupid prank. The guard looked at Marcus for a long moment. Marcus wanted to disappear. He mumbled an apology, but it sounded weak even to his own ears. The guard spoke in a calm, controlled voice. He said that Marcus had assaulted a member of the military while on duty. He explained that the uniform Marcus had ruined was not just clothing. It represented something bigger than both of them. It represented service, duty, and respect for the country. Marcus felt smaller with every word. The tourists watching were no longer entertained. Some were shaking their heads in disgust. A few were making comments about how disrespectful young people were these days. Marcus wanted to explain that he had not meant any harm. He was just trying to create content. but the words stuck in his throat. How could he explain something so stupid? The officers told Marcus he was being detained. They would take him to the station for questioning. Marcus could not believe this was happening. His phone was still recording everything on the tripod. One of the officers picked it up and added it to the evidence. Marcus watched his camera being taken away, and reality finally hit him hard. This was not content anymore. This was real trouble. His mother would be so disappointed. His boss at the coffee shop would probably fire him. His roommate Jake had been right all along. At the police station, Marcus sat in a cold room with gray walls. He had been there for 2 hours already. They had taken his statement, asked him the same questions over and over, and made him feel like the worst person in the world. An officer came in and told him that the incident had already gone viral. Videos from multiple tourists had been posted online and people were not happy with him. Marcus asked if he could see the videos. The officer showed him his own phone. There were already news articles with headlines calling him disrespectful and entitled. The comments were brutal. People were calling him names, saying he should be locked up, that he was a disgrace to his generation. His social media accounts were blowing up, but not with the kind of attention he had wanted. He was getting thousands of new followers, but they were all there to hate on him. His roommate Jake arrived at the station. He looked tired and worried. Jake had brought a lawyer, someone his family knew. The lawyer was a middle-aged woman named Mrs. Chen, who looked at Marcus with the same disappointed expression everyone else had been giving him. She explained the situation clearly. Marcus could face charges for assault, disturbing the peace, possibly even a charge related to disrespecting a military officer. The penalties could include a fine, community service, or even jail time, depending on how the court decided to handle it. Marcus felt tears building up in his eyes. He was not crying yet, but he was close. He asked Mrs. Chen what would happen next. She said they would have to wait for the guard to decide if he wanted to press charges. If he did, they would go to court. If he did not, Marcus might get away with just a fine and a criminal record. Either way, his life was about to change in ways he had not imagined. When he woke up that morning, Jake sat down next to Marcus and put a hand on his shoulder. Jake did not say he told him so, even though he easily could have. Instead, he asked Marcus why he did it. Marcus tried to explain about wanting to be famous, about feeling stuck at 15,000 followers, about thinking this would be his big break. As he spoke, he realized how childish and selfish it all sounded. He had risked so much for something so meaningless. Mrs. Chen left to make some phone calls and try to negotiate with the authorities. Marcus and Jake sat in silence for a while. Finally, Jake spoke. He said that Marcus had always been chasing the wrong kind of success. Real respect came from doing good things, not from making people laugh at stupid pranks. Marcus knew Jake was right. He had wasted years trying to get attention instead of building something real. Now he might lose everything because of one terrible decision made in less than 5 seconds. 3 days passed. Marcus barely left his room. He had been released from the police station that first night, but he felt like a prisoner in his own apartment. His social media accounts were a disaster. He had gained 50,000 new followers, but his comment sections were filled with anger and disappointment. His boss at the coffee shop had called and told him not to come back to work. His mother had seen the videos and cried on the phone, asking him how she had raised someone who would do such a disrespectful thing. Marcus had deleted all his social media apps from his phone. He could not handle seeing his face attached to words like disgrace and idiot anymore. He spent his time lying in bed, thinking about what he had done and what would happen next. Mrs. Chen had told him they were waiting to hear from the guard and the military officials about whether charges would be pressed. On the 4th day, Mrs. Chen called with unexpected news. The guard wanted to meet with Marcus. Marcus felt panic rise in his chest. What could the guard possibly want from him? Mrs. Chen said. The meeting was optional, but she thought it might be a good idea. Sometimes showing remorse in person could make a difference in legal outcomes. Marcus agreed to meet, though he was terrified of facing the man he had humiliated. The meeting was arranged at a neutral location, a small office in a government building. Marcus arrived early with Mrs. Chen. His palms were sweating and his leg would not stop shaking. When the guard walked in, Marcus almost did not recognize him without the uniform. He was wearing casual clothes, jeans, and a simple shirt. He looked younger somehow, more human. His name was Thomas Bryant, and he sat down across from Marcus with a calm expression. Thomas started speaking first. Said he had spent the last few days thinking about what happened. He'd been angry at first, really angry. His uniform had been ruined, and he had been embarrassed in front of hundreds of people. But as he watched the videos spread online and saw how Marcus Fawaz was being treated by the internet, he started feeling something different. He said he saw a young man who made a terrible mistake and was now paying a heavy price for it. Marcus listened, barely breathing. He had expected Thomas to yell at him or tell him what a horrible person he was. Instead, Thomas was speaking calmly, almost kindly. Thomas continued. He explained that he had been in the military for 6 years. He had joined because he wanted to serve his country and be part of something bigger than himself. The uniform represented years of training, discipline, and commitment. When Marcus threw that coffee, it felt like all of that was being mocked. But Thomas also said he remembered being 23 years old. He remembered making stupid decisions and not fully understanding consequences. He said everyone deserves a chance to learn and grow from their mistakes. Marcus felt tears rolling down his cheeks. He had not expected kindness or understanding. He apologized to Thomas, really apologized this time. It's not a weak mumble like at the palace, but real words filled with genuine regret. Thomas accepted the apology. Then he said something that surprised everyone in the room. He was not going to press criminal charges. Marcus felt relief wash over him like a wave. Mrs. Chen looked surprised but pleased. Thomas held up his hand, though, because he was not finished. He had conditions. He wanted Marcus to volunteer at a veteran support center for 6 months. Not just show up and sign papers, but really volunteer. Help organize events, spend time with veterans, learn about their stories and their sacrifices. Thomas said if Marcus could do that and truly understand what service meant, then maybe something good could come from this mess. Marcus agreed immediately. He would have agreed to almost anything at that point. But as Thomas talked more about the Veterans Center and the people there, Marcus started feeling something different. Not just relief, but actual interest. Thomas told him about veterans who struggled to adjust to civilian life, who dealt with injuries both visible and invisible, who needed support from their community. Marcus realized he had never thought about any of this before. They shook hands before leaving. Thomas gave Marcus his phone number and the address of the Veterans Center. He said he would check in regularly to see how Marcus was doing. As Marcus walked out of that building, he felt different. The weight of potential jail time was gone, but a new weight had settled on his shoulders. This was a responsibility, a real one, not just content for the internet. Jake picked him up outside. Marcus told him what happened. Jake could not believe it. He said Marcus was the luckiest person alive. Marcus agreed, but he also knew it was not just luck. Thomas had chosen to show mercy when he could have chosen punishment. That choice meant something. Marcus could not waste it. That evening, Marcus did something he had not done in days. He opened his laptop and recorded a video. Not for entertainment or pranks, but a real message. He looked tired in the video, his eyes red from crying and lack of sleep. He spoke directly to the camera and took full responsibility for what he had done. He did not make excuses or try to justify it. He explained that he had disrespected someone who deserved respect, and he was deeply sorry. He talked about meeting Thomas and the incredible kindness he had been shown. He announced that he would be volunteering at a veterans center and that he wanted to use his platform, whatever was left of it, to actually do some good. He said he was done chasing fame and attention. From now on, if people were going to watch his videos, they would be watching him try to become a better person. Marcus posted the video and closed his laptop. He did not check the comments or the view count. It did not matter anymore. What mattered was showing up at that Veterans Center in 2 days and actually following through on his promise. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same Veterans Center that had felt so strange and intimidating on his first day. Now, it felt like a second home. He was helping set up chairs for a weekly gathering where veterans came to share stories and support each other. An older veteran named Robert, who had served in the army for 20 years, waved at him from across the room. Marcus waved back with a genuine smile. The past 6 months had changed Marcus completely. At first, he had gone to the center because he had to. It was part of his agreement with Thomas. But after the first few weeks, something shifted. He started actually listening to the stories these men and women shared. He learned about sacrifice, about serving something bigger than yourself, about real courage that had nothing to do with getting likes and shares online. He had met veterans who had lost limbs in combat, but still showed up every day with positive attitudes. He had talked with people who struggled with invisible wounds, dealing with memories and trauma that Marcus could not fully understand but tried his best to support. These people had given real pieces of themselves for their country. Many of them had been forgotten by society once they came home. Marcus had stopped creating prank content entirely. His old followers mostly left, and he was back down to about 8,000. But these followers were different. They actually cared about what he was doing. He posted videos about the veterans he met, with their permission, of course, sharing their stories and the work the center did. He organized fundraisers and brought awareness to veteran issues. The content was not flashy or designed to go viral, but it was real and it mattered. Thomas checked in regularly, just like he promised. They had become something like friends. Thomas had introduced Marcus to other service members and helped him understand military culture and values. Through Thomas, Marcus learned that respect was not given automatically. It was earned through actions, consistency, and character. The uniform Thomas wore was not just cloth. It represented years of dedication and sacrifice. On Marcus's last official day of volunteering, the center threw a small gathering. Robert gave a speech thanking Marcus for his work and his genuine commitment over the past 6 months. Several other veterans spoke too, talking about how Marcus had helped them in different ways. Marcus felt emotion building in his chest, but this time, it was not shame or fear. It was gratitude and pride in something he had actually earned. After the gathering, Marcus sat down with Thomas outside the center. Thomas asked what Marcus planned to do next. Marcus said he was not stopping. The 6 months might be over, but he wanted to keep volunteering. He had also enrolled in college to study social work. He wanted to help veterans professionally, to make this his actual career, instead of chasing internet fame. Thomas smiled and told Marcus he was proud of him. Those words meant more to Marcus than 1 million followers ever had. Thomas said that Marcus had taken the worst moment of his life and turned it into something meaningful. Not everyone gets that chance, and not everyone takes it when they do. Marcus went home that evening and thought about the person he had been 6 months ago. That Marcus seemed like a stranger now. He had thrown coffee on a guard as a joke, thinking only about himself and his desperate need for attention. He had not considered consequences or respect or the value of what that guard represented. The incident had humbled him in ways he never expected. It had stripped away his shallow goals and forced him to look at what really mattered. Thomas could have ruined his life with criminal charges. Instead, Thomas had given him an opportunity to build a better life. That act of mercy had changed everything. Marcus knew he would spend the rest of his life trying to deserve that second chance. Not for followers or fame, but because it was the right thing to do.